Hi, I'm Alexis. I am a California native that's currently based in Warsaw, Poland. So I am an educator and a marketing consultant. So I spend most of my time as a marketing consultant working with a digital health company. And I do everything from demo videos to voiceovers, video editing, kind of marketing content of any kind that goes to public-facing anything. But my heart is in education. And they're kind of related because when you're marketing, you're trying to communicate or break down information to people. So I think they kind of lend themselves to one another. But I'm an educator by profession, and I am a marketing consultant by circumstance. So. Yes, I do. I have a personal finance YouTube channel that I do with my partner Erasmo. It's called Taboo Money, as well as a TikTok account, and you can find bite-sized information about personal finance. I think it's just something I learned a little late in life, and I wish I had learned it so much sooner. So when I finally did have access to the information, I felt like it was something that I needed to share. I just recently learned the term slow mad. I didn't know that existed, but it kind of defines the kind of traveler that I am. I like to really get to know a place when I get there. So even though it's not necessarily my home, I'll spend a year to 2 years in any given place at a time. I think 2 years has been the max at one time. I always end up moving from there. But that's what I like to do. Obviously, that's punctuated by weekend trips and month-long trips to other places. But for the most part, I like to call one place home at least for a year or two. It just feels right. So I kind of go wherever my heart tells me to. Sometimes opportunities open up that I think could be interesting, that align with my interests or what I've studied or what I'm interested in learning more about. And so I'll take advantage of those opportunities as they appear. And other places like Warsaw just feel like home, so I just decided to have an apartment there and work from there for a while and develop sort of a community. So it's a little bit of like your gut and your bliss, and also what feels right. So I'm not the best at this, but I do try and keep weekends free. So I try to make sure that Saturday and Sunday are blocked off. Now, sometimes someone will sneakily schedule a call on Sunday evening, but that means I'm taking that time on Friday. So I just make sure to block off that period of time when it's like, okay, I'm checked out, I'm not answering anything from this point until this point. And I make sure to do that. So if I know I have a call on Sunday that happens at 8:30, which is unfortunate but true, then I know that earlier on Friday, I'm done, right? And I just make sure to take that time to actually enjoy and experience new things. And I think just sticking to that sort of a schedule and sticking to a routine can help you maintain boundaries, which can help you with your work-life balance, essentially. My dream from childhood was to see the world. I didn't know what digital nomadism was. I didn't know that it was a thing people did. I just would read the books as a kid, and I knew that I wanted to go confirm that those places were real. My family didn't have the finances or the resources for us to travel to see other countries and other places, but as immigrants, they assured me that it's out there, the world is out there and it's real. So I did a lot of just following my heart, and I became an educator because I loved it, and then I was looking for opportunities that would allow me to see the world and do what I love to do. And that opened up Ukraine and Armenia and Poland and all of these other places just because I was following that impulse. How I became kind of remote, because in those travels I wasn't working remotely, I was actually working on the ground. But I randomly got put into an internship over at UC Berkeley where I went to college. And it was one of those pitch events where different companies or startups would pitch their idea to investors. And it was a competition. And I randomly got, somehow, I'm not sure how, became an intern at that event. And the CEO that won the event poached the interns of that event. And so I became his intern and I worked for free. We were like 18, 19 years old. And then from there, I moved to Poland and Ukraine, and he was perfectly happy to let me work remotely, work for cheap, but remotely, part-time. And that's what I did. And then when I finished with Teach for Armenia, he said, why don't you join us full-time? And still didn't care where I worked. So he was pretty ahead of his time as a CEO, because this was long before COVID. So the fact that he was kind of open to a remote team was very different. So I had actually been working remotely long before COVID hit and made it kind of normal. and working part-time remotely and full-time. I've been working in Armenia, I've been working in Poland, I'm working here in Kalifi. So yeah, so that's I kind of fell into it, but it almost seemed like a natural progression from what my dreams in the world were. I don't think I'm afraid of traveling. I think I'm afraid of most things. And I think that's the difference. I have a mind that finds the worst possible scenario that could play out in any possible given situation. So it makes it quite difficult when the situation you're walking into is unknown. And that seems to be the majority of my life story, is walking into these weird unknowns. And I think a lot of it is working on your head and your mindset. I do create contingency plans for those worst case scenarios at all times. So I'll turn my location tracker on if I'm going on something that, doesn't seem that secure, just to make sure, that people can find me if I disappear. I'll send a message to my mom. I have a sky roam, so I always have internet wherever I am, even if it's a little bit slow in some places. But I think it's about, once you do it once and you succeed and you're fine, you kind of develop a bravery. So the anxiety doesn't really go away, but the bravery and the courage builds up, and then, the risks get bigger. Yeah, and so you try to do it as safely as possible, and you try to find the different, I always wanted to come see the continent of Africa, visit different countries in Africa, and I thought, okay, how can I do this in a way that would make me feel the most secure? And then I found a remote working group with whom I could do it, and now I feel like I'm brave enough to go off and do it again, maybe by myself. So, and in previous points in my life, I always tried to mitigate the anxieties and the risk by preparing. So I learned to speak Polish, I learned to speak Ukrainian, I learned to speak Russian. So at least I could get around on the ground when I got there. And that isn't a foolproof safety net for everybody, but it made me feel safer, and it's usually all in your head. So whatever you need to do to make yourself feel safe is the way to go. Not necessarily, but I always generally search on YouTube, and I find some YouTubers that are travel YouTubers. So there was one, I forget her name. I'll send it to you and you can put it in there on text. And she basically talked all about Kenya, all about safari, what to know. So I really prepared myself, and like what colors to wear, what not to wear, what to expect, how much you can expect to pay. So YouTube is actually a really great resource to see what others have experienced before you and get that information that you need. I'd say just do it. I think it's an incredibly rewarding experience. It's not necessarily for everyone, but I think if you're even the slightest bit interested, I'd say just get out there and try, because it's only by having the experience and succeeding that you can really know whether it's something you're cut out for or not. And most likely you'll find that you'll learn a lot of stuff about yourself too that you didn't know.